Good evening, this is Joshua Taylor coming to you from here in North Bend, British Columbia. This is the second video of the Joepipe 101, episode 4, and this is what I'm making here. I think it's pretty cool what the Lord gave me back in 2004. So I just want to go over the basic outline on this. This is more or less a recap on the previous video. The Lord first gave me the Joepipe technology in the spring of 2004. A week later, I had a second dream where I heard the audible voice of Jesus speak to me concerning this technology, that it would take 3 steps. He said the perfecting of the fuel will lead to the discovery of unlimited heat, which could be shared with the world, and that in turn would lead to the discovery of unlimited energy, and that is to be kept in reserve for God's people, for the remnant. That could never be shared because the world's not ready for this kind of technology. So the Joepipe is basically made up, we'll just draw the pipe here. So that's the Joepipe. This is the holder. So the basic Joepipe, if the inside diameter is 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches, you just multiply it by 10, and that gives you, a good length that's going to work, right? The longer the pipe, the more vacuum is created, and the more narrow that the pipe is, the more vacuum that is created. So if it becomes too overly sensitive, it's very hard to get going. So if you got 1.5 inch pipe, this would be 16 inches long. Now the swirl device, I didn't use this initially, but after several years or so, I found that this works. This is basically soapstone like this, and I actually got wire wrapped around it so it actually wedges into the pipe. My first application with the soapstone with the swirl device, I actually made it out of a stack of stainless steel washers and pinned them together. And on my first test, because I still had wire wrapped around the washers, right? I actually saw electrical current spinning around the wire, like a blue white light. It was so cool. And everything seems to be happening in tools. In the first 3 years, I had many quantum anomalies, and they all happened in twos. So I know what the Lord told me about the perfection of the fuel leading to unlimited heat. That heat is no longer in the third state of matter. It's been shifted into the fourth state. And maybe I could just give you a demonstration. When I was first doing the pipes, I had a 4-inch copper pipe, 5/8 diameter, and I was running alcohol, right? And anyway, this was burning. This wasn't really super hot, but it was hot, right? Didn't change color, and had maybe a little bit of flame here. The fire was burning inside. Unexpectedly, this is what happened. I had a flame that came out here, and it was multicolored, and this turbocharged on the inside. The implosion spin just went through the roof. And when I shut off, I turned on my water vapor flush, and I turned off the alcohol, and it still burnt like that in the fourth state, or maybe fifth state. So that proves beyond all reasonable doubt that I was developing 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, just burning water vapor. And it burned for about 10 seconds before it went out. So what the Lord gave me is the #1 prepping tool in the world. It's going to allow people to survive the coming bull shift in the places of refuge. Alright, let's go to red here. So this is the Joepipe proper. I just got it cast into a 2-inch nipple. And basically, I'll just make the holder here. So this is your fan here. I got a 4-inch marine fan. I've used this about 4 or 5 years ago. It goes into a housing here. And I have this to close off and open up the air going into the tube. So we're just going to make this basic. This is the holder here. This is your T when it comes in. And so what you want to do is, this is your fuel rod. It comes in, right? This is your propane. Initially I was using water gas, but I found it I developed too many anomalies, and the Lord spoke to me and he said to use propane that's more stable. And I still get anomalies with propane at times. So the propane comes in and is ported through the eye of this roll device, and this where it causes your spin, right? I can actually put a 3/8 gouging rod made out of the ones I use for cutting metal, but actually sharpen it to a point just like a pencil, so you know that the fire is spinning. Is between the 3rd state going into the 4th state. It's going into from a laminar flow into a spin, and when it does trip into a full vortex spin, that's where you get these weird anomalies that happen. So you got your propane going in, and we're just going to add our air here. So this is air, and this is propane. Okay, so when you go to light it, you turn on your propane first. Always turn on your propane first, and add a little bit of air. So what happens when you light it from the outside, you get this big yellow whoosh, right? And you start cutting back the pressure of the fuel and the air. What happens is that it causes the flame to tune like this, right? So when that happens, this creates a negative pressure. It's not going to be that much, it's just part of an atmosphere. So what happens when you get to this point, the flame actually slingshots back, and it starts to vortex air, it starts to oscillate. Once you have the flame pulled inside, then you can crank it. And say if you turned the propane up more than what you need, it actually, the excess of the propane will burn on the outside. Your pipe, if this is copper, usually gets between 1,000 to 1,100 degrees. And even using steel, instead of a copper pipe like this, I've used Schedule 40 1.5 inches. I even got one piece that's Schedule 80, about the same length of this, and she'll get up to about 1,100 degrees on Schedule 80. That's pretty heavy duty steel. This is the basic operation. For some reason, in the summertime when it's hot and humid, it works the best, right? And I'm believing that it's actually burning the humidity that's in the air. It's actually cracking the humidity, maybe an H1, forming an H1, maybe H2. And there's one summer that I was doing testing, well, probably at least 3 years ago, that I have this little device here. This is the tool that I use for measuring the temperature. It goes up to about 3,000 degrees. It's quite expensive. And I was using that to measure temperatures within the core here. And I measured temperatures as high as 2,650 Fahrenheit. Well, what I'm saying, when it's summer, when it's hot and muggy, that's when it seems to work the best. In the winter time, there's no moisture in the air, right? You know, your air is dry, and actually you lose about 1,000 degrees in the winter time. It doesn't get as hot like it does in the summer. With this flame here, I'm able to heat 16 ounces of water in one of my tests. Just using a stainless steel tea kettle, I was able to boil 16 ounces of water. I think it was in 23 seconds, 1 pound of water. And I was able to convert it into full steam. I think it was 3.5 minutes or something like that. It takes more energy to make steam than it does to boil water. But that's the basic premise of the Joepipe. It will run on most fuels. It has to be in the vapor form. So it's going to run on propane, natural gas, water gas, what else have I used in the past? That's the basic. I've also used like a diesel gas, bubbling air through a mix of diesel and water, right? Same as your water gas. You have a container with water and gas, and you bubble air through it, and you get a bonding of 3 to 4 parts water with 1 part gasoline. And I was basically, initially I was using that in the smaller 5-inch copper pipe, and it was working pretty well. So what I'm doing this time, I would actually like to add a secondary feed here. It's going to come out, and I'll be able to put water gas through here where it's going to come, right behind the swirl device. It does burn on its own, but with the pipe that's superheated, when this water gas goes in, your water gas is above 1 micron, and when it goes through the pipe, it's going to be broken down atomically to the submicron or to the nanostate. So when it comes out the end, you're going to get a huge flame coming out of here. So that's what I'm attempting to do in the next several weeks or so. So if you have any questions, you can get a hold of me. But this is the second installment of the Joepipe 101 series, and also have the Joepipe applications. And so all this is going to be under the Exodus 2 Live, and each one is going to be recorded as an episode. That way I'll be able to build up a database and all this. So give me a call. As far as gasification, what I'm hoping to do is put a gasifier device in front, and I might have to get some refractory cement and make a crucible. If I just took a simple nipple like that and filled with pellets, right, wood pellets, and from there I take that and I pour it through there to see how much of an extra push in the flame that it's going to get. Okay, we're going to stop it here. I'm going to give you another visual of the inside. It was pretty noisy today when I was doing this outside. But this is, you can see the soapstones swirl device in there. And I'll probably play with that to design various configurations. Because changing the way, you know, if you can actually, you can increase the laminar flow, or you can trip it into a spin. When you do trip it into a spin, that's when you get your quantum anomalies. Because it compresses, you know, compresses the energy is being compressed. When you do that, it becomes denser, and it taps into the quantum state within the atomic matrix of the material. And I believe that's what the Lord meant when he said that the perfection of the fuel is going to lead to the discovery of unlimited heat. And if you got unlimited heat from, say, 7,000 degrees plus, you can take this anywhere that you want to go with it. This is Joshua Taylor coming to you from here in North Bend, British Columbia, with the 101 update on the Joepipe technology.